You ever notice how easy it is to assume the worst about people, especially at work? When we treat colleagues like competition, not humans, we say things like, just get paid and go home. Don't make friends at work. There are no friends at work. And sure, some people do move funny, but how did we get to this point where suspicion feels safer than connection? Today, I want to explore why we demonize each other so easily and why it matters. The truth is, for many of us, work is where we spend most of our waking hours. And for those who've left home or even left their countries and moved to other countries, work becomes our main community. Yet, what do we often find? Coldness, distance, a culture where connection feels risky. Instead of building friendships, we guard ourselves. And it's not just personal. There are bigger forces at play, I feel. And it's just a scarcity and competition when it feels like there's limited promotions, limited recognition, or even limited belonging. We stop seeing each other as people and start seeing each other as rivals. Even like the moment you get in, you sense like a certain energy that people have towards you, and these people barely know you, so obviously there's no prerequisite to that. There's no reason behind them acting the way they're acting. We stop seeing each other as people and we immediately see each other as rivals, and those riddle groups and cliques in a workplace. So whenever you come in, you have to scout quickly and pick your side. And I've worked in very many places, different fields and different companies, and this is something that has been consistent from one place to another. And the aspect of uprootedness. Moving countries breaks your safety nets, for sure. Like, you land in a new place with no family, no old friends, and suddenly you're hyper aware of protecting yourself. And sometimes even there's the aspect of language barrier where you have to learn a new language and still do your job. So there's no room for you to be dilly-dallying. And also the biggest thing, in my opinion, that has played part in this, and I feel like, okay, in my opinion, in the current society or like in current times, but that's not to say like this is not something that has been happening even before it, social media culture. We live in a world of curated images. Everyone is performing, and because of that, we assume authenticity is risky, so we keep more to ourselves, and people, and it's like the more aloof you are, the cooler you seem, or you think you seem. Sometimes even like just workplace systems, when companies reward individual metrics instead of teamwork, secrecy becomes normal, gatekeeping feels smarter than collaboration. I've seen that. Our brains are wired to detect threats. Social threats are also included in these threats, right? That's why gossip spreads faster than kindness. That's why it feels easier to label someone as a problem than to sit in the discomfort of not knowing them yet. And once we put a label on them, toxic, fake, or even a witch, we no longer have to engage with their complexity because we have attached a label to them, and that label does not align with who we are or what we go with. But the cost is high, creativity suffers. For real, mental health takes a hit. We burn out faster and work becomes purely transactional. A paycheck with no soul, no community, and you go. And this I feel like also plays a huge role in the turnover rates in different companies or institutions. So what's the alternative? In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm not saying that we just overshare and trust blindly. I'm saying that we should at least start small. For the person who watched this video, at least start small. And I know that change can even start with a single person. So the fact that you will start it, trust me, you might not see the results there and then when you're there, but it's a culture that once you start, it will continue, and hopefully we'll see change. Ask one genuine question that goes beyond small talk and not very invasive. Share one detail about yourself, something safe but real, something that makes you feel human. You are human, but most of the times you don't feel human in workplaces. And publicly appreciate your co-workers' contribution without seeming like you're people pleasing. And remember, warmth doesn't mean weakness, because I feel like most of the times warmth is equated to weakness, and aloofness and just being cold is equated to being strong and mysterious, and that just... Listen, you can have boundaries and still be human, because I feel like we've gotten so used to moving in silence, protecting our every step. Protecting from who? We're doing all this just to die, that we've forgotten we're wired for connection. As humans, we are wired for connection. And that's the reason why people will have all their eggs in the basket of romance, because that's the only connection that they have in their life. They don't have social connection. They don't have platonic connection. And obviously, not everyone is going to meet you halfway. Some people do move funny, for real. But that not everyone is a rival. Not everyone is a threat. And if you're brave enough to start with one small gesture, you might find that suspicion isn't the only story we can live by. Yeah, so go out and break a leg. Thanks for watching. Tell me in the comments, have you ever made a real friend at work? I have made real friends at work, and I've moved jobs, and I still have those people with me in my life, and it's been one of the greatest decisions I ever made, and the bravest decisions I ever made, to be vulnerable with these people. Have you ever made a real friend at work despite the culture of suspicion? I'd love to hear your story.